Welcome back to Under Oath. Today we have actor, director, Nathan Kress. Nathan, can you hear me?
I sure can. Thank you so much for having me.
You know, one thing I love about people who started doing and basically as child actors is to see where they went, you know, and I love how you've gotten into voice work. I love how you got into directing. I mean, that's such a huge thing. How does that even happen?
I definitely did not have the normal path into directing. I was just doing iCarly as an actor. But what I think the powers that be sort of noticed is that I would pay very, very close attention to what the directors were doing. And oftentimes, especially in the multicam format where, you know, it's three walls and you're doing it kind of like a play, it presents very unique challenges for the positioning of the characters, the blocking and choreography that you sort of have as you're weaving together all the lines and the action. And a lot of the time, the directors would get sort of stumped on what to do. And I would just say, what if we did this? And they'd go, oh, that's a great idea. Let's do that. So I think they just sort of saw that I had a mind for it, and that I was solving problems and paying attention. And I would sit there in Video Village as much as I could and just sort of absorb. And so by the time we got done with the show, it's funny because it was like everybody was getting spin-offs from iCarly, but for me, they sat me down and said, "We think that you could be a great director, and if that's something that you're interested in, you know, you'd be able to do it here with your peers, with people that you know, and you know, you could try it out." And at first, I was like, "Oh wow, okay, great, thank you so much." No interest at all, because I saw how stressful it was.
Yeah.
It did not look fun to me. Especially doing kids TV, there are so many limitations and kids can only work for so long. So the time pressure was absolutely intense. And I didn't really want to subject myself to it because it just didn't sound fun. But a couple years later, I kind of had that moment where I was like, I have to try it. I have to do it at least once just to say I did it. I hated it. I'm never doing it again. So that I could just rule it out. And I ended up loving it. And so I was really, really grateful for that opportunity, that was seen in me and that I was given a chance to do it, especially with people that I knew and loved. You know, it was my crew that I grew up with. So being able to get behind the camera was an honor, and I will always be grateful, so grateful for that opportunity, because it's launched so much. And then now, all the way back around, in a couple of weeks, I'm going up to Canada to direct several episodes of the Victorious reboot. So I'll be up there with a couple of my old crew members from way back in the day. One of our iCarly writers is actually the head writer and one of the showrunners on that show. So it's really, really cool to see that come all the way back around and sort of be my character that I was, but in real life and doing it for real. So it's a very, very cool opportunity. And I know that it's not the normal way that people get into it, but I guess it's kind of like I was in film school for my entire teenage life for this very niche way of making TV. So turning that into being behind the camera was a really great opportunity.
So now you got choices. You got the iCarly reboot. You do a lot of voice acting, and now you have the directing. They give you the choice. They go, okay, you get a year on set as an actor or as a director, and you only get to pick one. Where do you go?
Especially for a year. I still think that it's acting, especially for that long, just because acting is just fun for me. And you get to mentally, it's a lot easier to live in the space of this is my character and I have to figure out how my character interacts with the character that I'm talking to. You don't have to be as cognizant of everything else. It's a lot easier to do that for a year straight. As a director, you're worrying about every character's relationship to every character, as well as how it's coming across on screen, as well as the schedule and the budget and every department head who's having problems, and you're having to cross-reference all these relationships and make this cohesive thing. Doing it for a year straight would be tough. And I don't know if I've got that in me quite yet. But acting is the warm, cozy blanket that I could do forever. That's play
Yeah.
for me. It hardly feels like work at all. So directing is nice because especially when you're doing TV, it's in fits and starts. You do it for a few weeks at a time. You come back and do post a few weeks later, and it's a whole different thing. But it was tough though because when we were doing the grown up version of iCarly, there was weeks where because I was producing
Yeah.
that show as well, so there'd be weeks where I was acting, directing, and producing, and trying to wear all of those hats
It's a
while
lot.
giving it 100% at each one something had to give every time. So, and for the weeks where I was directing, where it was my responsibility to be in charge of that episode, that had to be 100%. So it was really hard to say that I was able to give full effort and force to the acting side of it because I was so dedicated to everyone else and all of their blocking and relationships and all the department technical stuff that was going on. It was really tough to really feel like I was able to do all of it at the breakneck speed that multicam TV
Yeah.
is. So definitely a challenge, and I'm glad that I did it. It was a good stretching mental experience. But I think in the future, I would definitely rather it be have a directing week, have an acting week, and just keep those separate so that I can go 100, at both.
Now, you mentioned something that a lot of people don't even think about when they're doing something. It's the money. How many? Oh, I wanted to get it in 2 takes, not 10 takes.
Right.
Was that such a big surprise to you going, okay, now that I'm doing this other side of it, now I got to start thinking about money and time and all the things I really didn't pay attention to before?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was definitely, and that's where the producer side sort of kicks in. I'm sure there's some directors that just they don't really care if they go 5 minutes over and get a meal penalty and cost the production money because we got the shot. And it's a delicate balance because you don't, in a way, it's like you don't want to not get the shot because you want the episode to look good, but it's a balance of is getting that one extra take, is it going to be that much better for how much it's going to cost the production because you went 5 minutes over on a meal penalty? So, yeah, you might have a really good looking episode, but they might not call you back to direct another one because you're an expensive director. So there's that extra part of it where, if you're the actor, if you're the character, you do what you got to do. And it's not like they can just rehire somebody else. I mean, technically, I guess they could, but it's a big effort and it never comes across the same way. But as a director, you're kind of expendable. Once your week is done, there's nothing that says that they have to call you back. So you have to be a team player to the actors, which is easy for me because I speak actorish. That's my primary language. So I work well with the actors. Working well on the camera side, the technical side was a thing that I had to learn more on the job because I had a relationship with it, but never as the person in charge of it. But then on the production side, that was, as you said, that was a whole new thing
Yeah.
that I was never really cognizant of, especially as a teenager on a kid's show. You're not thinking about like, oh gosh, I hope we didn't spend an extra, I think the number, somebody told me one time it was like $50,000 a minute. For every minute that you go overtime out of budget, you're
Jeez.
costing the production so much money. So it's a lot of pressure. It's truly, I don't know where the phrase time is money came from, but boy, time is money on TV. So it's definitely something that you have to be cognizant of if you want to be a director who gets called back.
Now, what I love about I get to do a lot of things. I get to be an attorney. I get to do stand up. I get to host this show. And every time I find out who my guest is, I'd get 3 or 4 every week. And I'd like to see how my people respond. I've had like Jerry Bruckheimer. I've had like stupid people. I mean, just people who've done like $1 billion movies.
Mhm.
The buzz in my office that I got to interview you today was bigger than Jerry Bruckheimer. And I'm like, I said, how humbling is that for you? It's the teenage years that everyone knows you. I mean, you're married, you got kids now, but I mean, at the same time, it must be just so ridiculous for you sometimes to go, is this really my life?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I am not ignorant to the fact that I was blessed with the opportunity to be part of something so much bigger than myself and bigger than the show that we did. It became this cultural moment, and it's been really fun to now see that it's been the parents and the grandparents who watched it with their kids. It's the kids who are now grown-ups who are in their 30s like me who have their own kids, and now their kids are watching the show for the first time because it still exists on these streaming services. It's crazy to see how it has just spanned generations, and I'm so grateful for the chance to do it. I get to have so many fun conversations with people, and I'm one of those who particularly loves like interacting with fans, and I go to those fan conventions and stuff to meet
yeah.
people, and it's just so fun and gratifying to hear people say like, thank you for being a part of my childhood, and we truly all grew up together. And I say the same thing back. I say thank you for being a part of mine, because if you didn't watch it, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. So I'm grateful for every single person that I get to talk to, because they're the reason why I'm sitting here with you talking about what I'm talking about,
Now, you mentioned conventions. I also write comic books, so I've been doing Comic-Con for, I think, 20 years now.
Yeah.
Celebrities have a difficult time at conventions sometimes because you could sit there for hours, and depending on how many people they let in, you could just be sitting at your table at this dead line, and you're looking across, and some guy's got like
Yeah.
4,000 people, and you're going, hold on, I'm here. I mean,
Yeah.
it's tough because it can be heartbreaking sometimes, even when it wears on you. I mean, have you ever been in a convention where you're just going, God, should I even be here today? Am I worth it? I mean, it can be a little depressing sometimes.
Yeah, my first slow one was definitely like kind of devastating until I realized this is just a slow convention. Like I was looking around and like no one is really like there's not really much going on. So I didn't take it super personally. I've fortunately, and I'm very grateful to say like when it's a busy show, it's a pretty busy line. So I get to meet a lot of people, and I've done big ones, I've done slow ones, but the fun thing about the slow ones is I get to talk to people
Yeah.
for a lot longer, and so that way. People go and they wait in line, and I feel guilty a lot of the time just for how much dedication it takes for these people to stand in line and wait, and I want to try to give them the best experience possible. So I look at that as, hey, we get to we get to just spend a little bit more time together.
I like how that works out. Now that you're doing voice acting, your voice is very recognizable. And I know you could twist your voice and do what you can do. Are you ever surprised when people recognize you or don't recognize you as a character?
Uh, as a voice character,
Yeah.
usually people don't pick me out as a voice character because almost all of the ones that I've done are not just in my natural tone. There's always some sort of affect on it, and I don't really go around doing them. So that's the fun part about voiceover is like you almost get to wear a disguise. You don't necessarily get pegged for that. But if anything, it's just people peg me for my voice for iCarly. Like even in the COVID area when we were masking up, people would still recognize me because they're like, I wasn't sure, but then you started talking, and then I knew. So it's ironically more for the on camera stuff than for the voiceover stuff.
So how does a job come? Like, for example, like when you're doing Chuck E. Cheese, and do they just, your agent goes, hey, listen, I know you got a couple days off or a couple weeks off. I got this, voice acting gig.
Yeah, well, it wasn't even that. It just came across as a plain old audition, just like anything else. So, I'm doing, that's the fun thing about voiceover. You can do them from your closet, and I do like probably 5 or 6 a week where I'm just rattling off different characters. And it's so funny because with voiceover, there is just a million permutations of each character. And so your odds of getting the job are incredibly low because a lot of the time what I've learned is like these producers, they don't even know what they want until they magically just, boom, hear the voice. And they're like, that's it. That's the one. And that's what happened with Chuck E. Cheese, but the opposite for me. I did not like my audition at all. I did multiple characters. I did for Chuck E. Cheese and for Jasper, one of the other characters. I loved that character. I didn't think the Chuck E. Cheese was any good at all. And I even told my agent, like, don't even bother sending. If you don't think that it's good, it doesn't really feel particularly inspired. And that was the one that they liked. So I learned a very valuable lesson, not to sell myself short and to just try it no matter what, because you never know what it is that they're looking for. And it turns out that was exactly what they were looking for.
Let me ask the last question. I do this for all the people who are trying to break into the business and they're in theater school and they're doing that. how do you survive the slow times where you're going, okay, I have to audition. I got to go in, it can be depressing as hell. What do you hold, inside to deliver?
Well, ultimately, for me, it's the fact that this is still my passion. Like it's I love doing it. So even the audition and the grind, it's still fun for me. The process itself is fun. And sure, it's demoralizing getting told no, but I've been getting told no in this industry since I was 3 years old. Like I'm kind of immune to it. I don't really care anymore. To me, it's very much like I'm just doing what I love to do, regardless of whether I get the job or not. And that's what I've always told people is like, if you want to get into this industry, plan on never getting a job and just doing it because you love to do it and you can't see doing anything else. Because if you're going into it planning on success and being super well off and well known, there's like a 0.0001% chance of that happening. And so you have to do it just for the love of the game and the love of the craft. And if you're doing it for that, it doesn't feel like working at all, even when it is slow. So that's always been the thing that gets me through. I was like, well, I don't really want to do anything else, and I still like doing it because this is my love. It's my artistic passion. So what else am I gonna do? Even if it's slow, it's still fun.
Well, I got to tell you, Nathan, it was great talking to you. I know all the women in my office are very happy to be able to watch this. And hey, good luck with everything, okay?
Thank you so much, and tell all the ladies in the office I say hello.